And that's the stuff our next speaker is made of, Reverend Joyce's Zorger. So come on up, Joyce, and give us the real stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Robbie. That was a beautiful song. Wow, that song, wow, it's touched my heart. You know, it made me feel so nostalgic because I have a lot of stuff after being married, almost 64 years of accumulation. And I just really could identify with that. It's stuff that's real and stuff that works and stuff that I love. And it's really, you know, getting out from under, that has been one of the challenges for me, is getting out from under, first of all, getting out from under the stress and the worry and the fear and all of that. And we all need to get to that place where we can have that spiritual connection that helps us get out from under, getting out from under. And I just, I have, last week, Sheila spoke and she read in the inspiration, she read something from Mark Nebo, and he has always been one of my favorite writers. He has a book called the book is the Book of Awakening, and I like the paraphrase. It says, having the life you want by being present to the life you have. And that's a challenge for all of us, to be present to the life that we have. And when I read that myself actually it was on the 24th of July, I had called Brian the day before, or maybe that morning, and told him what the title of my talk was going to be. And I kind of vacillated back and forth between relationships at play, since the theme for this month is play. And I thought, well, somehow I can combine the two. But when I read the Mark Nebo's reading for that day on July 24th, the title was Out From Under, and it just struck a chord for me. And what he wrote was, he said, to paraphrase, sometimes there is too much to consider, too much to understand and to analyze, too many consequences to play out in our mind, too many things to clean, discard, or deal with before we can go out to play. And sometimes that reminded me of when I was a little girl. It's like we had to get all the work done before we could go out to play. But, you know, the work is never done, is it? We always have work to do. There's always something that is calling us to keep us in that place of keeping our nose to the grindstone, keep on keeping on. And certainly being out on Feather Ranch, and I love the dances that you did, and the feathers that flew all around, and it was perfect. I see red feathers all around on the floor, because my ranch is Feather Ranch, and a very special place that I recall so many years ago when we first moved there. It was almost 25 years ago, and all of our 6 grandchildren were under 10 years old, 10 and under. And so they would come out on weekends and holidays and summer days and have so much fun there. And I remember, Brian, you talked last week about kick the can, and that was one of my favorite games. And I taught my grandkids how to play that. And I was down at the barn and I was watching them play it. And how many of you have played kick the can? You know what that game's about. Most of you do know that you have, somebody is it, and that person has to stand with his eyes closed, usually against a tree, which we have plenty of there, or against a building, and count to 100. And then the other players go and hide. But before that person does, he has to put a can down, and that can is representative of the game. So while that person is counting, the other players go hide. And then when the person is ready to look around for the people in the game, I think, as I recall, it's if you see somebody like Shayna, one of my granddaughters named Shayna, over the can for Shayna out behind the barn. They have to say where that person is, where they see that person. And then they jump over the can for Shayna. And then Shayna is caught. She is a captured person. But other people that are out there hiding, if the person that's it doesn't see them and they run in and kick the can, then Shayna is set free. Do you remember that part of the game? I just love watching that game. The kids had so much fun. And I went in the house. John was not out there with me. And I went in the house and I said to John, I said, that game was so much fun. I said, they ought to have a game like that for us old folks. And he said, they do. It's called Kick the Bucket. And So that's what I love about John. He always had brought humor into whatever happened during the day. So whenever I think of kick the can, I think of that kick the bucket. So um, when I drove in this morning, I drove on Branch Mill Road. How many of you have been out that way on Branch Mill Road? It is so gorgeous. If you haven't been out there, take a drive. They have brilliant fields of flowers, and they're exquisite. There's some deep lavender, amber, multicolor, and it's just a beautiful vision of flowers and color. You'll have to take a ride out there when you can. Just laughter, how important is it? We read, and I've read, and the scientists have proven that when we are able to bring laughter into our lives, it helps us to release the endorphins that are so beneficial for our bodies. They just, it just is something that I need, especially now as I'm moving through the grieving process of John's loss back in March. It's been a long journey, and I really kind of went into some reading about the deepening journey, and that's how it's been for me. It's been a deepening journey for me, and I really appreciate my connection with my spiritual family, with my faith, how important that is. I know that Joseph Campbell wrote something and I've always loved his writing. He says, opportunities to find deeper powers within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. And I believe that the deeper power within is our divine nature. I believe that God, that source, that infinite intelligence, whatever we choose to call it. And sometimes I refer to it as life with a capital L. It's that life that is, that we connect with, and how I connect with that every day. I love the ways that sometimes people feel it's as when we allow ourselves to be broken open by the events in our lives rather than broken down by them. We begin to be grateful for the difficulties themselves, and these difficulties can become our greatest teachers. Have you ever had that feeling that things that happen to you in life, you look back on them and you realize how you've grown from that? And my relationship with John of nearly 64 years hasn't been all wine and roses. It has been difficult at times. And one of those times I met with Joanne Johnson, Reverend Joanne Johnson. This is Nancy Johnson's mom, and I just love her, and I've loved her for so long. She was my teacher in practitioner studies 30 years ago. And one time we were out to lunch, Joanne and I, and I was talking to her about some difficulties I was having in my relationship with John, because he was a engineer, and he was also Pisces, very sensitive. He was very stubborn as well, and there were times that he couldn't express how he was feeling, so he'd go into a silent treatment, and that was always so troublesome for me, because I'm one of these people, I like to get to the bottom of it and understand. And I said to Joanne, I explained what was going on in my life with her, and she shared a poem by Edwin Markham, and I just love this poem. You may have heard it before. He drew a circle and shut me out, heretic rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a larger circle and took him in. Isn't that a beautiful poem? It's a good reminder that whoever you're dealing with in life, that draw that larger circle and take them in, and understand it's another way of moving through the challenges that we are always faced with in life. I like what I've written here. The divine does not force itself upon us. It stands at the door and knocks. We must open the door of our minds and hearts if we are to receive. It's never forced upon us, but sometimes the challenges force, the events of the challenges force certain ways of having to deal with things in a different way. And I believe that when we recognize that Christ within, that kingdom of heaven is not out there somewhere. That kingdom of heaven is within us. It's within our thoughts, the things that we think, the things that we move through life with, and many times in our thinking and our thoughts and our words can create havoc in our lives. So we really must be very careful of the words that we use. this is what I wrote. How do we do this? How do we receive? One of my favorite expressions from the Bible is, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. For me, being an Aries personality, it's been really hard for me to be still. I've had to really focus on bringing myself down into a peaceful place. And that's been my challenge with my energy that I have all my life. And I'm grateful for that. But I've also had to learn that I have to create a space in my life that I can receive. And I love this, be still and know that I am God. And I sometimes will say it and I eliminate one word from the end. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. That felt good for me. I get so emotionally involved in my talks that I have to take a deep breath, and that helped me to just to be still and know. And that I'm always guided and directed to know what to say, what to do, and how to be. And I depend on that spiritual practice to remind me each morning. I truly do. It has gotten me through 64 years of married life to someone that was not the most easy person to get along with, but I love him so much. And every time I turn on the radio, there's a song that reminds me of our relationship. And that's, I believe that these are little ways that John and I connect. And I love that. And I'm so appreciative of my life and where this journey is leading me. I am very grateful. Fear is something that we have to get out from under as well. And we listen to the news and we listen to the radio, the television, the things that it's so much of it's based on fear and rightly so. Some of it is pretty scary, but we really have to learn how to release that and throughout the day and find ways that we can just breathe and be and not get so wrapped up in being played hostage by the news that we hear. And I just, what I do is I like to, I think going to the beach, walking on the beach, or going to a dog park and seeing dogs frolic and play, and just watching YouTube. Have you ever watched YouTube and watch little animals, puppies? I love to watch it when they have puppies. They are so darling, and I just love animals. And of course, that's another responsibility, my animals that I dearly love, and they are my horses, my dogs, my cats, my birds, and the squirrels. I've pretty much tried to eliminate the squirrels. And turkeys and wild pigs. I mean, this is something that I deal with all the time. And it's, I go walking in the morning and I walk on this dirt road that's on the property, and I'm always looking for the tracks of animals. And it's really fun. I should take a notebook and write down the animals that I see. Raccoons are always there with their little hands all over the road. So, and it's just, I feel so blessed. And people say to me, well, Joyce, how are you going to manage to live out there on 45 acres of a ranch and do all the work that you do? But I totally believe that this helps to keep me strong. It helps to keep me young. And the muscles I have, this is me. This is who I am. And I've always been very much interested in activity. I think activity is so important. Don't just sit there and read or watch TV all day. Just get up and walk. And this was hard for me to see. My husband, John, he got to where he wasn't very active, and he used to walk for hours on our property, and then he got to the place where he wasn't able to do that anymore. And I just you would encourage him to just practice walking around in the house. If you don't sit too long, walk around the house, sit down in a chair, push up and down. But, I realized he was feeling his age, and with Alzheimer's, it robs a person of their strength and their mentality. And this was very hard for me to see, but we moved through that challenge. And there were times when there was so much love that I felt totally blessed, and I have no regrets, and that's something that sometimes I wake up and think of some things that I wished I had done differently, but we got to release those regrets because they only harm us. We don't want them to affect our health, and our health is important. We need to take care of ourselves in very special ways. And for me, how I take care of myself is to always connect with that spiritual practice every morning. I have some ideas that I wrote down. Things that have helped me get out from under. We have so many tools with unity and religious science. We have the tools to work with to know how to move through the challenges in our lives. I wrote down consciously abiding in faith. That's what has helped me get out from under, consciously abiding in my faith. I say, when someone says, how are you doing, Joyce? I said, if it wasn't for my family, my friends, and my faith, I wouldn't be doing too well. But I have that, and because I choose to open myself to it. I don't push it aside. I choose. And Joyce, I'm Joyce with a choice. I always like my name because of that. So I set a time, this is what I wrote down to share with you, I set aside time each day for prayer, meditation, and affirmative convictions. Affirmative convictions. Be consistent and persistent until old thought patterns that do not serve give way to new ones that enrich our lives and strengthen our faith in good, God, the good. Fear is only an illusion that creates a feeling of separateness, a false sense of isolation that exists only in our imagination. I could feel very lonely there, but I choose to change my thinking when those thoughts of loneliness come over me. I go pet a dog, or I do whatever I need to do to feel connected. And I accept that there's a grieving process, and this is all a normal to go through this. But I'm not going to get so bogged down under it that I'm not able to function, because I still have a life to live. I turned 84, and I used to have a mantra. I would say 84 and out the door, because I was free to go and not have to worry about John and worrying about his care, because it was years of having to care for him. But I've changed that, Monica. It's 84 and still much more. And I like that, 84 and still much more. And I am so blessed to know that. And I know that because I work at it. And so I encourage you all, don't curl up in a ball and think, oh, I'm 74 or I'm 64. And it's, you can do it. My mom, I'm grateful I have some of her genes, because she learned how to bowl when she was 85. We would go bowling together, and she would throw the ball and would go so slowly down the lane, so slowly, and then it would hit that center pin, and she'd have it, and then she'd jump up and down, and she'd be so excited. And so I want to be like her. And also she loved to dance, so continue dancing. Your dancing brought out such joy within me. When I watched you dance, it just made me smile, because you're full of smiles yourself when you're doing that. So to continue to do that, because it brings so much joy in people's lives, and the music and the movement. And I wished I could do those movements with the hips, but I have to try. I'm going to work on that when I go home tonight. Anyway, going on, there are two voices sounding in our ears, the voice of fear and the voice of confidence. One is the clamor of the senses. The other is the whispering of our higher self. The whispering of our higher self. Listen to that whispering. So I'll take a sip of water here before I finish. In closing, I have here, so you don't have too much longer to go. I'm going to suggest that you just relax in your chair. And if you have anything on your laps, you may want to remove that. When I'm doing my meditation, I don't have anything on my lap except my hands open up, my palms open to receive, because we have to be ready to receive. Even crossing my legs, I uncross my legs, I'm ready to receive. And then I also take a couple of nice deep breaths and just relax. And breathing in, I calm my body and my mind. And breathing out, I smile. For dwelling in this present moment, I know this is the only moment. And I remember the words of Ernest Holmes. You will sit in the silence until you hear the voice within. You will be in the dark until you see the light. You will be alone until you are no longer lonely. I love that last line. You will be alone until you are no longer lonely. Fear not, for I am with thee. I am the light that shines in and through and around about you. I am the strength of your body, the power of your thinking mind. I am the steadfastness of your spirit. I am the love that comforts you and flows out from you to others. I am your very life. Rejoice in that life. And that is my message this morning. Rejoice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.